work from this view just because it's easier for me to jump back and forth to different screens. So I hope that's okay with everyone. We're going to talk about NotebookLM, and you'll see in the chat if there's a question in there. Give us a thumbs up if you've used NotebookLM, and share a way that you've used it. So we know this is one of the more fun and exciting tools that has come on the market that education is really, really excited about because we can do lots of neat, fun things with it. So we're going to talk about some of those today. It has really evolved from its uses when we were using it a year ago. So I've got some things generated. We'll go over in just a second and get on to NotebookLM. I do use the free version. So I do know that if you want the plus version, I believe it's $7.99 a month. So right now the free version is taking care of my needs just fine. And so until I hit that wall, I will stay with that free version. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what is NotebookLM and how does it differ from the other chatbots that are out there. So basically, NotebookLM in a nutshell allows you, it's a large language model, and it partners under that Gemini umbrella, which is all the Google products that are under there. But it mainly interacts with sources that you load. Now, those could be internal sources that you're adding. So your syllabi, your PDF, your lecture slides, rubrics. But you can also have it access and use external sources. So those are web links that are existing out there on the web. And so one of the big pluses that NotebookLM frames its world in is that because you have vetted the information that you are loading through the files in your course or in your job role, then the answers are grounded in your material. So as far as the vetting goes, we've already done that piece, right? When we're loading our own files. It provides citations tied to those sources. Now, most of the large language models are getting really good at sourcing now, much better. In the early days, we had to prompt them to provide sources, but now many of them add those automatically. NotebookLM is really good for research, summarizing, and course content. We're going to look at this tool in just a moment, and I want you to kind of think of it in two ways. Think of it as you're a faculty member or a staff member using it this way, but also think all of the things that your students could use it to do. And that's a really powerful way to think about NotebookLM. So we talked a little bit about Notebook. What are the chatbots? So they're drawing from general knowledge, right? So if I'm engaging with Gemini directly, or I'm engaging with ChatGPT or Claude, then it's going out on the landscape sphere and pulling content in for me to access. It's not limited, those are not limited just my documents. So I'm containing the world within NotebookLM. They may not cite specific sources. They are really good at brainstorming and drafting in general questions. But if I'm going to drill down on course content, then I can use NotebookLM for that. But also remember, I can also upload files into ChatGPT and other LLMs. So these tools have a lot of consistency across their abilities, but NotebookLM's artifact production is really strong. We're going to look at that in just a moment. So here we go. What are the things that you can do in this platform? So one of the things we noticed very early on that made us all so excited is we could produce that little podcast style audio file that we could then use in another way. So some of the ways that we've seen folks using that is producing things for their students. And I'm going to show you in a second that I uploaded a course syllabus and had it produce a podcast style on the course syllabus. One of the things I use it for productivity for myself, if I'm going somewhere to do a presentation, I'll upload my presentation notes and have it produce a podcast for me. And I listen to it when I'm on the way there to make sure that I've got everything locked in my mind, that I can refresh those kinds of things. But think about it this way. Your students might like to listen to content in the course, and they might put in their ear pods and walk while they're listening to content. So they're not necessarily reading it, they're just hearing it. So it allows us to do the multimedia side of it. In the tool now, you can produce really good little videos. I'll show you that as well. So we've moved beyond just the podcast. In visuals, you can do mind maps and concept maps based on the materials that you are loading. flowcharts and timelines. You can produce quizzes and flashcards, or your learners can produce their own quizzes and flashcards to interact with their content. So maybe you're using an OER textbook and they're reading the content online. It's just static information, but you're thinking, okay, how could we mix this up and get to different learning styles and make it more engaging for students? They can produce their own quizzes and flashcards to interact with. So now we're not going to Quizzer or one of those external tools where we were paying for access. It was behind a paywall. These LLMs are now building that into their base models. Producing discussion questions. So that could be used with your collaborative groups within your class. So you could be generating those, or those collaborative groups could be generating those. So it could go for a group or an individual student. Allows you to do a lot of personalization really quickly. Structured content, summaries and study guides. We'll look at that in just a moment. Creating lecture outlines and slide content. And it turns readings into multiple formats for different learning styles. So we're going to take a look. Let's see the way I want to do this. I'm going to jump through two little slides here real quick, and then we're going to go over and look at a notebook. So a good way that you could use this tool, and you'll see me just in a moment show you, and I've done the preloading and running through the prompts through the system only because the video and the audio file generation takes a little longer, and I didn't want you sitting there and listening to the Jeopardy song in our head while it's doing that kind of thing, so I just did the pre-generation on it, but you'll see how simple it is in just a moment. So maybe I want to upload my syllabus. So in my little use case, I'm going to share with you in a moment, I uploaded this course syllabus and I had it generate a video file. I had it generate an audio file. So I can just give that to students in different ways so I know that they're interacting with the course syllabus content. Because I know when I was teaching in class, it took an act of Congress to get students, many of them, to read the course syllabus. I mean, let's face it, our course syllabi have gotten very long and there's lots of information in there. And we just can give it to them in different ways so they can digest it. I can upload readings in there and have it generate activities, questions, quizzes, other types of things, mind maps, ask it for thematic consistency across documents, and then produce different artifacts for me, or lecture notes. Again, students can do the same thing. So there's just a couple of simple little prompts for you to plug in. I would just encourage you to play around with it. I even use ChatGPT. Sometimes I'll say, give me some prompts that I can plug into NotebookLM to make student engagement, to raise student engagement. What are some things I can do? Here's what I'm going to upload. I'm going to upload some readings. I'm going to upload the syllabus. I'm going to upload some slides, and let it guide me and come up with some of those creative prompts. Tell it to think out of the box. Tell it you want to gamify something and give you ideas and upload the materials. So students, like we mentioned, can do some of the same kinds of things. So they can upload course files or embed links as long as it's not sitting behind an authentication wall. So NotebookLM has to be able to reach that website. It needs to be public facing. Also, if you have links on a website, NotebookLM will not go down further beyond the surface level link you're giving it. You'll have to give it, if you want it to reach down deeper into links that live on a website, you'll have to copy and paste those links as well. But students can use it to produce their own study guides, their own FAQs. You could build FAQs from your course syllabus. They can use it to build quiz questions, to interact with content for themselves. They could use it to build glossaries or to summarize different, there's a typo right there, sorry about that. So to summarize difficult readings. So it can produce information in a way that's easier to digest for students. So I'm going to jump over here and let's just take a look at it. We are at the NotebookLM interface, and all I did to find this interface is just simply to type in Google NotebookLM or just NotebookLM, and you'll find the link to this platform. And so once I get here, it's a real simple interface, and so what we're going to do is we're going to look at this brief interface and orientate ourselves to it, and then we will move on and look at how we can build and set up a notebook. So I'll see over on the left that I can access all notebooks that are on the platform. And there are many on here. So you can see different notebooks across my screen. They are arranged by tile. And then I could click see all and it would go to many more. I can go to my notebooks and all I'm going to see are the notebooks that I have created. Or I can do featured notebooks and it will pull in notebooks that it's highlighting at that moment and time. I can view these notebooks by tiles or by listing. And that's kind of interesting because you can see how many sources are included in notebooks and when they were actually created. And then you can do some sorting with those, most recent or by title. So I'm going to back up to this level and I'm going to go back to the tiles. And so you can also search for different notebooks. So if I'm ready to create a new notebook, I have a tile on the far left side which says create a new notebook. You'll also see over on the right side there is a button for creating a new notebook. Those do the very same thing. So let's take a brief look at this level of the interface. So NotebookLM, as we mentioned, is assuming that you are loading knowledge into the system. And by that we mean you are loading files into the system. And so it will reference those files and build artifacts for your course based on the content that you're feeding it. So what are the formats that it will work with? So I can upload different files. And so it tells me here that I've got PDF, images, docs, audio, and more. And if you just put your little pointer on that link, you'll see that there's lots of different file types that you can access or you can upload within the system that it will work with as a knowledge piece. So I can upload files. When I'm working in a notebook, I mix file types. So it's not all PDFs. It's not all docs. I may have some PDFs, some docs, some web links, an image file, or some audio files. So there's just a mixture of content in there. As long as the content makes sense for your notebook, put the files in there. Additionally, you can copy and paste web links within this knowledge base, and it will hold those into your little area where it's tracking your knowledge. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Know that if you are copying and pasting a web link, so if you were to copy and paste the web link to Bridging Minds and Machines, our AI Learning Collaborative website, it will work with that website, but it will not go down into links that are contained on that website. So if there's something linked on there and you're like, oh, that may have some interesting things in it, you'll have to copy and paste that link and add it as well. So it only goes one surface level deep. You can also connect it to your Google Drive, which is very nice, and you can copy and paste text within a notebook. So there's multiple ways of building out your knowledge base. So once you get those built, we'll see in a moment that you can that they will appear on the left-hand side. If I'm working here and I'm looking at, okay, I want to add more sources as I'm working, then I simply click that Add Sources button up here, and that box reappears. In the middle section, you're going to see this is your chat interface. So down here at the bottom, I've got some chatting that I can do, and it gives me some preloaded prompts that I can click on as well. And the right-hand tile is the studio tile. So these are the artifacts that NotebookLM can produce for you. So the audio overview is the podcasting feature. So I can upload a script and I can have it produce a podcast. Or I could upload my course syllabus and just click audio overview and it will build a podcast based on that course syllabus. Or I could upload the course syllabus and put in a prompt that says, create a podcast based on my course syllabus. And it will come back and tell you. When your podcast is complete, it will appear in the studio section of your listing. I can also have it create a slide deck from information. And that could be from any file or a mixture of files. So I can have it access 2 or more sources even and create a slide deck. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. One of the new features that I really, really love is the video overview. So it's a lot like the podcast feature that you may have been playing with for a while, except it has images. So it literally builds a little video. It does not go as in depth on a on the content that I'm working with as the podcasting feature does. And sometimes I don't want it to. So you've got some control there. It'll also produce mind maps based on your knowledge pieces, reports, flashcards, quizzes, infographics, and data tables. So there are several different types of content it can produce for you. One of the things that's really neat that we talked about in the Tech Talk Tuesday training is you can mix it up really easily for your students, so you are speaking to different learning styles. So I'm going to back out to the main level. And this is a little untitled notebook that I just created. I just want to show you how to either delete a notebook or edit a title. So I'm going to delete that notebook. I just did that for demonstration purposes to look at the interface. So let's dive in and take a look at a notebook that I have built, a basic one that I'm playing around with to learn more about Notebook LM. And so I'm going to click on Intro to Biostatistics, and we're going to take a look at this one. So in this notebook, we're going to start over here on the left. I've got some knowledge sources that I have loaded. I've got a course syllabus. I've got some lecture notes, and the last two are links to websites that had a lot of good information that I wanted to use for this notebook. If I wanted to continue to add resources or sources, I just click that Add Sources button at the top, and you'll see the box pop up, and when you can add whatever it is that you want to add to continually build your sources. Remember, you can mix source types. Doesn't matter if they're PDFs, doc files, web links, whatever it is that you want to load in there, images, audio, etc. In the center is where we can chat with our knowledge sources via Notebook. And so this is very much a chat interface. If you've used any of the LLMs, it works in very much the same way. It's giving me some initial questions that I can click on and get going, or you can simply click down here in the bottom, and you'll see that right now it's linked to all four of my sources. They are all checked on the left, and I can then chat with the Notebook regarding these four sources. Over on the right, this is my studio panel. And what I want to do is to walk you through some of these artifacts that I've produced for this notebook, playing around and learning the capability of this tool. So the first is a statistics quiz. And what I did was I deselected all of my sources on the left, and I used the lecture notes only. So I selected that source and I simply clicked quiz over in my studio panel, this one right here. And so it builds by default just a basic quiz. Now, if I wanted to customize that quiz in some way, then I would use the chat feature in the center to then tell it exactly how I want to customize that quiz. And then once I say create a quiz and customize this way, it will then tell me, okay, the quiz is going to show up in your studio panel on the right side. So if I'm customizing, I'm not just clicking the source and clicking quiz. I need to actually prompt it to give it context for the customizing. So let's click on the quiz and just take a look at it quickly so you can see what a quiz looks like. I can edit this information up here if I want to, but I see my question and my distractors, and it has a hint, which is auto-generated, which is really nice. And then I'm going to click next, and it's going to go to the next question, and you can see the questions that are in the quiz. It by default generated 10 questions, and so again, if I wanted something other than 10 questions, and just by default it generating questions, then I would need to give it context through chatting. So let's back up. The next one is interesting. So the slide deck artifact is in beta, and I have not been able to get that one to work by simply selecting a source on the left and clicking slide deck. So it's still a work in progress. I did get it to work by chatting with the tool and saying, produce a slide deck of 5 slides connected to this source. And it sees the source, see the one source down here in my chat feature. So it knows that I'm working with that one source. So by saying create a 10 slide deck or a 5 slide slide deck, it generated the text for me there, and then I could copy and paste that out into PowerPoint or Google Slides or whatever I wanted to do. So know that just selecting the source and selecting the artifact of slide deck, I have not been able to get it to work yet. And I retried several times. The next one is a mind map. And so I connected that to a source, and You can see that this is the nice little mind map that it created for me. And once I get that mind map created, then I can download it in the upper right hand corner if I'd like, and then move that to another way of delivery for students. I'm going to back out of that, and we're going to go back to the studio and look at the remainder. The next one, the audio overview, and I connected that to the syllabus. And the interesting thing about this is it was a deep dive. So it's about a 22-minute long audio. Now, going forward, what I would probably do is to chunk that out. The syllabus that I used in this course, it has a lot of, all the weeks are laid out, the different sections of the syllabus, of course, but it's got 15 weeks in the syllabus, and then it had just the topics that are to be covered within each week. And the audio overview, the podcast, went deep dive on it. So the thing that it did really, really well, that really impressed me, was when it went through the topics in each week, it gave examples of how it connects in real life to other things that were not embedded within the syllabus at all. So that was really, really neat. And so students can see, okay, I'm learning this information. Well, how does that connect in real life? And so that was really nice. But again, it's 22 minutes long. So what I would probably do going forward is to, if I wanted to go through each week, is to chunk it out, maybe weeks 1 through 5. Produce that in an audio overview, and then do weeks 6 through 10, et cetera, because I cannot imagine a student listening to 22 minutes of this is what's in the syllabus. So just bear that in mind, but it did do a really great job of producing an audio overview. I'm going to click on this for just a moment in case you have not listened to this tool and what it produces, just to give you a couple seconds of audio on it.
Almost every single day, you open your phone, you scroll through your news feed, and you are immediately hit with this definitive scientific sounding headline.
Right, something like new study says drinking 3 cups of coffee a day prevents heart disease.
Exactly, and you feel great about your morning routine. But then, almost inevitably, a completely different article pops up the very next day from a different reputable outlet.
Oh yeah. Epidemiological data links coffee to increased anxiety and cardiovascular issues.
Yeah. And as someone who genuinely wants to, understand the world and make informed decisions about your health, you're just left sitting there staring at your mug, wondering how we actually know if any of this data is telling the truth.
Okay, so that's an example of the audio overview. So it's really interesting, and a great way to think about this is if you have students and you want to mix it up in how they consume content. Some students may want to just listen to this information. You can download this file, share it with them. They can listen to it in their car. They can listen to it while they're exercising. Or if you want to do that to continue your own learning, as I mentioned, I have used this if I've been preparing for a presentation. I've generated a little audio overview, downloaded it, and taken it with me and listened to it on the way to the presentation to make sure that I'm really versed on the points that I want to cover and I've not lost any of the information. So very, very nice feature. But again, the deep dive is a pretty long format. So just bear in mind, chunk if you want to make it shorter. The next one is also connected to the syllabus. And this is the example of the video that it produced for me. So I linked up the source, and I wanted to create a quick little video that students could watch images and listen to an overview of the syllabus. It's much shorter than the audio, and so it was, easy to consume. It's a 6-minute, 57-second video. Again, that could be chunked as well. So you have some options there. So I'm going to click on this and give you just a view of what the video entails.
Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to have you here for this explainer covering your semester expedition in applied statistics, specifically for Math and Bio 153.1. Now, I know exactly what some of you might be thinking right now. Combining high-level math with computer coding and biological science, it kind of feels a little bit daunting, right? Maybe even panic-inducing. You're probably staring at the syllabus, wondering how on earth it's all going to come together. But hey, take a deep breath, because this roadmap is going to show you exactly how to conquer this material step by step.
Okay, so you see example how that works, and what it's going to do is move through different images, and these images You can select the style of image as you're building this artifact. So it gives you a set that you can click on and then determine what type of images that you want to use or what style of images that you want to use. And I'll show just a little bit more and we'll look at how this slide changes and what the next one looks like.
Going to take a whole lot of complex data and transform it into clear, actionable scientific insights. And I'll be right there guiding you through exactly how we get there. So let's just quickly map out our journey. First, a welcome to applied statistics. Then we'll hit milestone 1, building foundations, followed by milestone 2, hypothesis testing, and milestone 3, advanced modeling. Finally, we'll wrap up with grading and final details. All right.
Okay, so you can kind of see how that works. It's pretty neat. I was really impressed with it, and I think it's a fun way to serve up your syllabus to students and so they can consume it without just simply reading pages and pages of text. Once I get that artifact built, then I can share it out up here in the upper right-hand corner, copy the link, paste it into my D2L course or however I choose to do that. You can also here download it, and if you're not just linking to your notebook and you want to actually download and embed that file within your LMS, then that can be done as well. So let's back out of here. And so you see how some of these artifacts work. So the flashcards work the same way, which have worked beautifully for me. It's been really, really easy. So I've simply clicked a source over on the left and produced flashcards. Or just, give it a prompt for flashcards. Remember, if you're prompting, you're wanting something more customized for any of these artifacts. So in the prompt, you're giving it extra context rather than just connecting the source to the artifact. So I encourage you to play with this. It is a great way to personalize information in your course for your students and give them some different ways to consume the content multimedia wise. Now, also, the students can take their course materials and produce these artifacts. So this might be a great way to introduce AI to your students and let them play with it. Tell them go forth and figure it out and come back and share really neat things that you discover about this tool. So a lot of students know the best way that they consume information, and giving them the freedom to be able to take your course materials and then generate the content in the way that they want to consume it is a really powerful way to personalize your course materials. Another really great way to use NotebookLM is from the student perspective is oftentimes in courses we have students reading research articles, policy articles, technical papers, and sometimes they're a little dry or a little complicated to read. So I wanted to do a quick example from the student perspective, and I'll add a piece on from the faculty perspective at the end on interacting with a file that has been assigned to us or a research paper that's been assigned to us through NotebookLM. And so I'm looking at a research article. This is a nursing and patient safety article. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the URL to this article. Now this is public facing. Remember that the materials, if you are interacting with websites, they cannot be behind an authentication wall or a paywall because NotebookLM cannot go through something like that. So you have to have items that are public facing, or you have gone through the authentication wall or the paywall and you have either downloaded a PDF or printed it in another way that you can then add to your sources in Notebook. So I've got my URL copied. I'm going to go back to Notebook and I'm going to create a new notebook. I'm going to provide this URL as the source, and you're going to see over on the left it's loading it up. It's going to give me a brief synopsis of what's on this website, and then I can start to interact with it. So let's first go from the mindset that we are a student. And so I've got a little student prompt that I have created back here. So for the sake of time, I'm going to copy and paste it in and we'll take a look at it. So the prompt says, help me understand this article step by step. Start with a simple summary in plain language. Walk me through in small sections, explaining key ideas and terms. After each section, ask me a quick question and wait for the response before continuing. If I'm confused, explain it in a simpler way and give an example. So I'm going to send that off. And it's going to come back and it's going to work from that prompt. And it's given me my simple summary. and then it's focusing on section 1. So there are multiple sections in this document. So it's going to talk briefly about a synopsis of section 1, and then it's asking me a quick question. So that's a really nice way that students can use NotebookLM to drill down through research policy or technical papers. Now, as a faculty member, let's look at it this way. So I found this research article. I really like it. I want to use it to build a quiz for my students. So it's linked up as a source. All I need to do is click on quiz in the studio, and it's going to generate a quiz for me. Again, I can do the audio interview, the video overview, the mind map, all different kinds of things. Mind map would be fun on technical and research papers, as a matter of fact. So that's another great way that you can use NotebookLM is to drill down through websites. Just remember also that if things are linked on that website, you will need to provide those other links if you want them included in your notebook, or get to that source somehow so you can add it to your notebook. So it's not going to drill down through links that are contained on that website.